Have you ever asked for something small and been mocked for daring to even ask? Imagine this, $1,500. $1,500 that meant nothing to anyone else but carried the weight of your world. A test, a threshold, a mirror reflecting who you were in the eyes of those closest to you. My sister laughed at me, her voice sharp, almost surgical in its cruelty, slicing through years of assumed trust, revealing the fissures I had refused to see. And in that laughter, that single, mocking, resonant note, I felt a strange clarity, as if reality had finally lifted its veil and I could see the world not as I wished it, but as it truly was, unforgiving, absurd, and brutally honest. How is it that the trivial, the mundane, the inconsequential, like asking for a mere $150, can become the crucible of our understanding, the pivot point of our lives? And yet, how often do we ignore these moments, too blinded by routine to perceive their true weight? That laughter became an emblem, a symbol of all the time society, family, and the arbitrary rules of life had whispered to me, "You are insignificant. Your desires are inconsequential." And I wondered, in those suspended moments, why we are conditioned to diminish ourselves, to bow to ridicule, to internalize the mockery of those whose love is conditional, whose respect is transactional. Was it the laughter itself or the silence that followed that cut deeper? The way the room shifted, the air thickened, and suddenly I realized that the world has always been ready to punish aspiration, however small. Perhaps we are all like fragile vessels, brimming with potential, yet easily shattered by the careless winds of judgment. And in that instant, I felt both absurdly small and overwhelmingly significant. Small because of my insignificant, a fragile, imperfect.
Significance in her eyes, significant because my awareness had ignited a new dimension of thought, a rebellion against the tyranny of triviality. How often do we mistake mockery for truth, laughter for judgment, and miss the hidden lesson embedded in the cruelty of others? It struck me then. If the universe can mock me with my $150, perhaps it is also capable of offering unimaginable, unfathomable cosmic reversals. And if life is a series of illusions, a theater of perception and misperception, then why not push beyond the limits, beyond the expectations of those who deem us laughable, and confront reality on my terms? Every interaction, every tiny humiliation, every dismissive word had been a rehearsal, a foreshadowing of a stage upon which I would one day act in ways no one could anticipate. Could one person, laughed at for pennies, ever claim dominion over billions? Could the fragile ego of a mocking sibling really comprehend the incomprehensible? How quickly and completely fortunes, perceptions, and power can pivot? I found myself staring at my bank account hours later, heart pounding, eyes widening, as if the numbers themselves were a manifestation of an unspoken truth. The universe does not answer to mockery, only to audacity. And I realized then that money, power, and perception are mere reflections of each other, shadows on the wall of Plato's cave, illusions awaiting the bold to step forward and reveal their deeper significance. What is wealth but a mirror, reflecting back our own assumptions, our fears, and our untested courage? The laughter of my sister was no longer a source of humiliation, but a challenge, a dare, a philosophical test, to see whether I would shrink or rise, whether I would accept the illusion imposed upon me or rewrite the rules entirely.
Each beat of my heart became a drum, each breath a summons to consider the absurdity of societal norms. Why do we measure ourselves by the ridicule of others? Why do we surrender our power to those who cannot comprehend it? And in that reflective silence, I recognized the tension between reality and perception, the gap between what is and what could be, and the exhilarating terror of stepping across it. Was I insane or merely enlightened by the absurdity that surrounds us daily, unnoticed, unexamined, yet waiting like a predator for the moment of action? And so I began to question, What is justice? What is power? What is the currency of respect? And how fragile is the illusion we call family loyalty? Could one act, one audacious withdrawal, not only defy expectation, but fundamentally challenge the framework of reality itself? And as the second stretched, the thought crystallized, sharp as a blade. Life punishes those who cling to comfort, yet rewards those who dare, those who see the mockery, the absurdity, the illusion, and laugh back by action, by truth, by unstoppable consequence. The room seemed smaller now, tighter, as if compressing around the realization that the banal cruelty of a sibling could catalyze cosmic consequences. And in that compression and that almost unbearable tension, I felt the seeds of audacity germinate. A recognition that to question reality is to change it, to challenge perception is to rewrite fate, and to act boldly is to awaken dormant truths that mockery alone could never unveil. Every laugh, every smirk, every sneer was a stepping stone, a philosophical puzzle, a reminder that life's ultimate currency is not money, but perception, courage, and the willingness to confront the absurd with unflinching resolve.
The moment had arrived, that surreal, almost mythic threshold where theory meets action, and I felt the tremor of possibility run through me like electricity. Fingers hovered above the screen, heart hammering, mind racing with every conceivable consequence, ethical, absurd, catastrophic. Could this act of audacity, this impossibly extreme withdrawal of $4.2 billion, not only defy expectation, but also reveal the fragility of everything my sister's laughter, our family, and society had built around me? I pressed confirm, and the world held its breath. Seconds stretched into eternities, as if the universe itself paused to witness the audacity of a single decision, a singular defiance against the banal mockery of $150. And then, like a shockwave, the number shifted, an impossible sum materialized, digits glowing with abstract significance. A mirror reflecting not just wealth, but the absurdity of perceived limitations. My sister's face went pale, her smug confidence collapsing under the weight of the unimaginable. Parents froze mid-step, their expressions morphing from curiosity to incomprehension, a silent acknowledgement that the ordinary rules no longer applied. The air seemed to vibrate with tension, a resonance that carried the philosophy of audacity in each molecule, every pulse a question. What is the true measure of power? Was it in currency, in scale, or in the unflinching courage to challenge every assumption, to act beyond the comprehension of those who sought to define you?
The phone beeped, confirmation, yet also a herald of chaos. Banks, bureaucrats, and algorithms sensed the disruption instantly. Their automated systems freezing, halting, like a clock caught between seconds, unsure how to process what defied every principle they were programmed to uphold. And in that digital limbo, I realized the profound absurdity of life. One laugh over $150 had led to a reality where billions could exist, yet still, perception had to catch up, understanding lagging behind action. My sister's voice trembled as she attempted explanation, denial, and ultimately apology. But words fell like raindrops against a steel wall of consequence. They had no weight, no power, no ability to reverse what had already reshaped reality. I watched, almost clinically, as the shock radiated outward, a ripple through the fragile structures of familial expectation and societal norms. Could it be that money, in its raw, absurd magnitude, was merely a metaphor, a tool to expose the fragility of control, the vanity of judgment, the theatricality of human perception? The absurdity escalated. Neighbors called, authorities inquired, news algorithms detected anomalies, yet nothing could fully capture the philosophical tremor set in motion by a single audacious act. And I thought,
What is justice in a world where audacity eclipses ridicule, where courage challenges derision, where absurdity, when fully embraced, becomes revelation? Each moment was heightened, every second pregnant with reflection, every reaction a microcosm of societal and moral paradoxes, the human tendency to underestimate, the persistent illusion of control. I realized in an almost existential thrill that my sister's laughter had been a spark, a catalyst, a symbolic representation of all that society imposes to suppress individuality, courage, and audacious thought. And now, billions later, I could see the contrast with crystalline clarity. Laughter and mockery are ephemeral. Numbers and consequence are durable. Perception is fleeting, audacity eternal. The bank servers, frozen mid-process, mirrored the frozen expressions around me. A surreal tableau of halted expectation, the absurd made manifest, a literal and philosophical pause. Every heartbeat was a drum of inevitability, every breath a prelude to revelation. I understood that audacity is a currency beyond numbers, a measure of courage impervious to mockery. Each laugh, every slight, had been a seed of potential, a philosophical challenge awaiting fruition. And now, in this climax of circumstance, I could see the ultimate lesson. Perception bends to action, ridicule is ephemeral, consequence is eternal, and audacity, raw, unrelenting audacity, remains the truest measure of power in a world governed by illusion and chance.
I whispered to myself, reverently and resolutely, "Then let it come. Let the world see. Let the universe tremble. Let the illusion shatter. I am ready." And in that declaration, I found the final catharsis, the fusion of thought and action, the philosophical awakening that comes only when one confronts the absurd with unflinching resolve, when mockery is met with audacity, and when perception itself bends under the weight of courage.